of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I need a motion to approve the agenda. I need a motion to approve the agenda. And I need a second. All in favor? Aye. At this moment, we don't have any public comments. Correspondence to the board and recognition. Thank you so much for the beautiful flowers. Francine loved flowers and would also have thought they were beautiful. Connie Jones, that's her sister. Your kind expressions of sympathy is deeply appreciated and greatly acknowledged of the family by Francine Keller. Whiteman was,
Our partners in education for this month, we have brought in our ministerial alliance, and from helping with block parties to helping lead our FCA at our high school, and just the love and support that you give to our families, our communities, and our kids each and every week throughout every year. We truly are appreciative. As a board, we'd like to recognize you, and Ms. Grant has a certificate for you guys, but I'd like to just read off the names of our ministerial alliance. And once again, we truly appreciate what you guys do for the school and outreach into our community and beyond. We have Pastor Craig Kopenberger from Baptist Church, Pastor David Noble from Heartland Church, Pastor Greg Oliver from Heartland Church, Pastor Jim Richards from First Baptist Church, Chaplain John Shipman from 509 Longling Chapel, Pastor John Michael Scheider, the Faith Lutheran Church, Mr. and Mrs. George and Sandy Kroger at Sparrow's Nest, and Chaplain Tony Dayton of the 509 Longling Chapel, Pastor Brian Windley at Mount Washington United Methodist Church, Mr. W.T. Morris, Pastor Willie Shields at Terry Christian Revival Center. You guys can come up and meet us up here. We'd love to give you a certificate, and let's give them a huge round of applause.
Good to see you. Thanks for coming in tonight. Thanks for everything. Appreciate it. You got all here for a picture. Thank you so much. Thank you. You guys want to slide this way? All right.
Mr. Murchie? I can't see you, Mr. Murchie. There you go. All right. Lay down. All right. On the count of three, and I'll take a couple. All right, here it is. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you all for your support for this community. Thank you. Whiteman report?
Well, good evening. This will be short. Every time I come here,
It is.
yeah, I'm getting to enjoy it. I think I might more be in some be regular. But anyway, as far as what's going on in Wyoming right now, this is our time. This is our time to take for us. I think y'all, well, honestly looking at it. And Larry might be too, because of course, but when as a whole, we're in a period where we're not doing a big inspection right now. As soon as January first comes around, we're going to be right back. And then it does not let up again throughout the year. So that's become the way Whiteman operates. It wasn't never used to be that way. I mean, we used to have one or two things a year. Now it's just one thing right now. So, with that, I just want to extend the wishes of the installation and the call. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, you've had a chance to read the principal and director's reports. Any comments on those? Yes, MSBA report.
I think it's just a few minutes for that to come back up.
So seriously, like you've only had one Christmas party? That's things. Yeah, I know, right?
I think the last round. Right.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Missouri School Boards Association's board report for the month of December. We thank you for the opportunity to share some news and information during a few minutes of your board meeting. While it took 2 tries, but Governor Greitens has now achieved his goal of recruiting Margie Van Diemen as Commissioner of Education in Missouri. In a closed meeting on December 1st, the State Board of Education voted to fire Van Diemen on a 5-3 vote. All 5 of Governor Greitens' recent appointees to the board voted to fire Van Diemen, including one new member who was sworn in just minutes before the meeting. State Board President Charlie Shields, Vice President Dick Lenz, and member Mike Jones voted against the motion. The board has appointed Deputy Commissioner Roger Dorson to serve as interim commissioner. At a previously called special closed meeting on November 21st, a motion to fire Van Diemen failed on a 4-4 vote. The decision comes after weeks of turmoil surrounding Governor Greitens' appointments to the state board and the announcement by one appointee, Melissa Gelder of Springfield, that the governor made her appointment conditional on the removal of Van Diemen as commissioner and replacing her with a candidate of his own. Greitens withdrew her appointment after she indicated she was not prepared to fire Van Diemen. He then removed another appointee to that seat, Tim Saunders of Joplin, after he indicated he would not support firing the commissioner. The recent appointments sparked outrage by education groups, including MSBA, who maintain the constitutional authority to appoint a commissioner rests with the state board, and that Governor Greitens' efforts to appoint only members who supported her removal would effectively make the position of commissioner a political appointee of the governor. During a news conference following the vote to remove Van Diepen, State Board President Charlie Shields said the controversial appointments brought the education community together in a way he has never seen.
In 30 years of being around this stuff, I have never seen the level of unanimity around the education community, where you got superintendents, you got principals organizations, you got USBA, you got NEA, you got NCA, all singularly focused. And when I told the board, and I can't tell what other people exist, but when I told the board in that closed session that there is an opportunity to do the right thing here and take advantage of everybody headed the same direction. And it is an opportunity that I've never seen take place, and we missed that opportunity today.
The news conference was attended by the 3 state board members who voted against the motion to dismiss Van Diepen and Van Diepen herself. The 5 members voting for her removal did not participate, but left quickly after the closed session. Van Diepen says she's sad to leave a job she was not ready to leave.
The job of Commissioner of Missouri is traditionally not a political role. But at the moment, political forces are eclipsing educational decisions. Although I didn't come to Jefferson City to fight, I'm willing to fight for children and teachers.
MSBA Executive Director Melissa Randall issued a statement following the meeting that said, "We are extremely disappointed with the decision by the State Board of Education today. The State Board today effectively has made the Commissioner of Education a political appointee of the governor. This is a sad day for Missouri's public schools and the students they serve. We will continue to pursue efforts to ensure the State Board of Education remains independent and exercises its appropriate constitutional authority." State Board member Mike Jones says the board engaged in what he called undemocratic behavior in dismissing Van Diepen.
I would argue that you made your voice heard. I'd also stipulate that you have a responsibility to obey every lawful statute that the department and this board is required to enforce. But I would also argue today that this board has lost its legitimacy as a governing body.
Jones is urging all Missourians to take a stand for public education.
Everybody in this state will have to make a judgment about 2 things: how much they care about public education and how much they care about constitutional government. Because public education is now at risk and constitutional government has been violated.
All 5 of the new appointees to the State Board of Education must still be confirmed by the state Senate. But a number of senators from both parties have expressed serious concerns about Governor Greitens' tactics in orchestrating the removal of Van Diepen as commissioner, putting those confirmations in jeopardy when the Senate reconvenes in early January. State Board President Shields explains what happens now.
It appears to me that in the immediate future, this whole discussion it now moves away from the State Board of Education. Certainly moves to the courts where you have a case pending, but also moves to the state Senate where you have 5 new members awaiting confirmation by the Senate. So I think the focus of a lot of this is going to move to venues outside of this building.
MSBA supported a lawsuit filed by State Board appointee Tim Summers of Joplin. His suit claimed the governor did not follow the proper process for withdrawing his nomination. A Cole County Circuit judge did not grant a temporary restraining order to reinstate him to the State Board of Education, but the judge also did not rule on the merits of the claim. So the legal issue remains unresolved, but still could have an impact on the validity of the vote to fire Van Diepen. Shields says he's afraid a change in commissioners would stall the progress being made in Missouri's public schools.
What frustrates me is that, aside from the fact that I feel very strongly about this commissioner, it has been my experience that anytime you make a change in leadership, then you delay that progress. You step back for a period of time and things stall out until everybody gets the feedback on the ground and they can continue to move forward. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think our progress is going to be delayed.
The next meeting of the State Board of Education is scheduled for January 9th in Jefferson City. A decision at the December State Board meeting that has been overshadowed by the firing of the commissioner was the upgrade in accreditation status for the Normandy Schools Collaborative from unaccredited to provisionally accredited. There are now no unaccredited school districts in Missouri. We congratulate everyone at Normandy for their outstanding work. That's it for this month's edition of the MSBA Board Report. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and so long from Columbia.
Okay, and I have to say that was probably one of the most informative ones that we've seen, because it does directly impact us, I think. And I do tend to agree with Mr. Jones. So, on that note, superintendent report.
All right, well, good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight. I wanted to kick off the party tonight in style with that very upbeat report from the MSBA. If that sounded bad, it was much worse to watch it in person. And anytime you have an 8-member board and there are 8 members present and 2 others that have been granted participation because they're not sure if they're members or not, it just sets a stage for disaster, which is kind of what occurred. Aside from the commissioner and the very innovative and impactful collegial leadership that she's provided, this issue isn't about the commissioner. The issue here is basically taking out the head of the department with the intent to bring someone in that is going to push for vouchers, tax credits, and other schemes that will divert public school dollars into private school or alternate programs. So what we need to know here is a couple of things. With our military population, we know that last year with Senate Bill 313, at the very last minute, our governor put a call into Denny Hoskins out of Warrensburg, who then attached military students of active duty military parents to Senate Bill 313, which means they could have had public dollars put into an educational savings account that would support those students to go to private schools, charters, or elsewhere. So there's a concern. The question will be when this hits, which it probably will, what will happen with our on-base students. And in speaking with base leadership, the information that I have is, generally speaking, the base, and I'll relay what I'm told, the base is very pleased with what's going on in Valdosta Public Schools. We know, and we'll go over a top 10 list here in a minute, but the top headline is Valdosta, for the second year in a row, has been the top performing district in the Washington Air Force Base region based on the April performance report. So that, along with many other things, it's a good time for the district to be peaking in performance. But the question remains, if choice is an option, will those students assigned to base, will they choose to go somewhere else, or will they choose to stay in Valdosta? And one of the things that this really isn't a surprise that this is coming, but one of we've been talking about this for 18 months or 2 years, and the thing that we have tried to develop is and tried to establish is that our district wants to be acutely responsive to the feedback that we get from base leadership, whether it's social emotional support, whether it's academic programming, whether it's extracurriculars. That feedback has been heard, and there's been action taken by this board and administration to try to establish Valdosta as a highly responsive school district to our military families. So I think we're in a good spot. We're probably not there yet, but we're moving along down those tracks. And again, the feedback is generally base leadership is pleased. However, that came with a caveat that with the multiple PCSs that occurred in the career, every place that families are assigned, they're not happy. And oftentimes they find themselves in a situation where maybe there's a smaller percentage of military connected students and less responsiveness to their needs. And when they experience those things once, twice, two, three times in their career, they really say, well, things are good here, but overall I advocate for school choice. So we not only have to ourselves be very good, but we have to compensate for those other experiences that would cause families to want choice. So again, like last year, I think our military students will be they're on the front lines of what the government will pursue in this effort. And taking that from the state to the federal level, we know that our Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos, is, and possibly President Trump, although I think when he really understands what's going on, he'll pull back from this, as he did last year. But there's an effort to redirect impact aid into this same type of scheme to support private schools and alternative settings. So that's kind of where we are right now. And so that's point number one that I would make. And point number two is I've made my thoughts known, like many superintendents of the state do together, and I've tried to do that in a positive, uplifting, non-offensive manner, because I think it's important. I mean, frankly, this is the governor I voted for, and there are lots of things that he's doing that I'm completely in line with, but this isn't one of them. So I try to remain positive, make those things known in the right way, but not everybody has. And one of the responses from the governor was an immediate attack on school administrators and talking about bureaucrats overpaying, non-performance, system isn't working. And in that caveat, the governor also basically said teachers should be paid more, administrators, their salaries should be reconverted to support teachers. And that's an age-old low-hanging fruit that you can lop out there, because essentially what that accomplishes is that it's teachers against administrators, which is in essence will cause chaos within organizations across the state, and a divided opposition is easier to overcome. So I say that to say this. We worked very hard over the last 3 years to build a relationship between administration, between teachers, between the board. We've worked on transparency, we've worked on communication, and no matter what is said outside of this district, our administration has agreed that we will participate in absolutely zero efforts to, or any action that would cause a dividing line between our staff and our administration board. We're one team with one voice and one mission, and that's student success. So we're extending an open hand to KNAP and making sure, like today at our celebration, make sure that our teachers know that they're appreciated and they're respected, and we're fighting together for what's best for kids. So that's kind of where we are on that. The governor mentioned that he believes every teacher in Missouri should have a $10,000 raise, and I couldn't agree more. Find a way to do that, and within the current level of funding, the only way that we can do that is through district consolidation. There are 540 districts in the state. I have my opinions on that. Organizations that take membership based on number of school districts probably have their opinion on that when it comes to number of districts paying dues. And there may be some real grassroots efforts why we want to support small communities around our state. But the only way that we can get that much money into the teachers' pockets, which they deserve, is we've got to cut the overhead. And combine our quantities of scale and redirect those dollars. But that's my soapbox that I've been on for years, and I'm told that they don't say the C word, consolidation, in Jefferson City, because it's unpopular. It's one way to ensure that you will never be reelected having elected officials. So that's kind of where we are on that. Open enrollment and any other redirection of public school dollars will essentially over time be a slow bleed and with forced consolidation. But I don't think it's in my opinion, it's a very haphazard way of going about it. So that's kind of what's to come in the year ahead, and we'll talk with our instructional staff more when we come back for the new year. But it's a mess, and there's never been a better time for two things. Number one, for our district to be performing well, and number two, for us to unite as a team and stay focused on those things which matter most. So that's my soapbox, and I'll wait on my report. So as of this meeting, we have 1.5 instructional days left until Christmas break. We did celebrate with our staff today another successful semester. Hopefully the wheels don't fall off in the next couple of days, but we thank our celebration committee and social committee for putting that together, and we look forward to some well-earned downtime over the Christmas holiday.
And those kids are crazy right now. Thank you. Thank you. I thought it was just me.
November was another busy month with several out-of-district activities. We wrapped up the month with our trip down to Dovia for the post-grant award, and that meeting overall was very informative and provided a strong start to the grant process. We tried to put the check in Mr. Coron's pocket to bring back, but it wouldn't fit on this carry-on. So we're excited about that and look forward to good things ahead. We've talked about the commissioner, and I'm not going to go back through that again, but it is included in our report. In other news, our new website, which you may have seen on the way in, is up and running. We want to send a thank you to Ms. Brandt, as well as our communication reps in each building, and the teachers for a job well done. If you have not had a chance to peruse this, either on your computer or your phone, I encourage you to do that. This is going to be our storefront for our district, and it's definitely laid out in a much more user-friendly, easy-to-navigate process. And we will, as we continue to develop this and add content, there's, like any project, there's still some dust to dust off and a punch list to go through, but essentially we have a good landing place for all of our district information, and we look forward to continuing to highlight our district on this page. One of the things I would point out about Mount Street and about down, there will be a very robust page for military families, whether it's enrollment, about the district, the programs we offer, a welcome and resources there. So we're excited about that, and again, we thank Mrs. Brandt for the job well done. Enrollment. By the way, Mr. Davis, too, I don't know why I took you out, but you have a little bit to do with this as well. The guy in the background behind the curtain that nobody sees. Thank you to you and your team, and for all the hard work and effort on that.
I saw him. He had to help me find actually.
Okay.
Just saying. That was a little bit of a glitch, but he didn't show me where it was.
We're in the show me state.
There you go.
Enrollment and attendance numbers for the month ending Southwest Elementary was 374 with a 95.97% rate. Southwestern Middle School 484, 95.20. Southwestern High School 360, 95.85. Whiteman Elementary School 337 with 95.64. District total was 1555 with 95.67 rate. So winning group is, what we have? Southwestern Elementary, is that right? Yep. Okay, congratulations.
We'll give them a couple weeks vacation.
That's like a great thing. Start Monday. Okay. Financial reports for the month ending, balances all funds, $11,449,229. Revenues, $7,040,784. which is 39.2% anticipated. And then expenditures, 5,382,225, which is 32.3% of budget. And that concludes my report. Actually, that doesn't conclude my report. Yeah, I don't want to hang out all night. I know you. A couple of things, I won't go over those for the sake of time, but we are working on an impact aid op-ed piece that's going to go out to Missouri media as well as some national media. And this is just a little bit of a story about Knob Noster. It talks about impact aid and what that brings to our students. And basically, this is, again, professional positive approach to getting the message out about the importance of impact aid. We also have a top 10 list that I do want to take time to go over just because we're kind of proud of it. We won't go over in detail, but want to highlight a couple of the standout pieces from the year. And really, so I'll start out by saying this. When you watch the Super Bowl at the end, whatever the winning team is, they kind of pass that around the team, and sometimes the quarterback guy gets someone to take pictures, sometimes the left tackle or right tackle, and eventually that trophy makes its way to the owners of the team. And the reason that happens is because those championships wouldn't happen without governance and leadership at that very top level of the organization. So while all of the educators in this room took a part in this list, I want to definitely thank the Board of Education for your role in creating a climate and culture that allows these things to happen. So these are your successes, and we certainly thank our parents for sending us their very best every day to work with. So number 10, as we said, again, for the second year in a row, Knob Noster led the region on our annual performance report. It was the second year in a row that we scored our highest ever APR. This year was a 99.3, and we're very excited about that. We have our work cut out for next year, but we're working very hard to keep that high performance up. Number 9, as you know, we brought in a $1.25 million Department of Defense educational activities military child academic support program grant, which will take place over the next 5 years to provide additional AP, STEM courses, teacher training, robotics expansion, and curriculum development for Knob Noster students. Number 8, with our $400,000 NIMSY grant from last year, our Knob Noster High School students produced the highest number of advanced placement enrollments and qualifying scores of all high schools across Air Force Global Strike Command. Number 7, for the 3rd year in a row, our tax rates drops, providing tax relief for our taxpayers as a result of the utilities pipeline. Not only is that good for our taxpayers currently, but it also makes Knob Noster a very attractive community for new businesses and new residential development. Number 6, in 2017, Knob Noster Public Schools was awarded the National Partnership of Excellence Award from the Military Child Education Coalition. And that award was given on behalf of the partnership that has been established between Whiteman Air Force Base and Knob Noster Public Schools in many areas. Number 5, we had another sound fiscal year and produced another clean audit. We did increase compensation for all employees and maintain 100% fourth paid health insurance. Number 4, as mentioned prior, climate culture and character education in Knob Noster Public Schools are trending upward. We're excited about our character education program. We're excited about our current partnership with our teachers and relationship with our teachers. And we're excited that over 2 dozen local businesses are supporting our character ed program. Number 3, Knob Noster Public Schools is one of few K-12 school districts in the state offering a one-to-one program for all students K through 12. And we are currently the only school district in the Whiteman Air Force Base region to do so. We're excited about the opportunities that opens up. Number 2, in 2017, we were excited to report our first ever district championship, which led to a Final Four appearance in baseball. Got our first ever district championship in softball, and We had second place district finish in football, but I think the first appearance there since '94 maybe. So we're also excited about individual state placements in wrestling, track, and cross country. And number one, our individual student performance, lots of curricular accomplishments in 2017. We had multiple all-district par placements, multiple band awards and championships, first robotics state and world championship placements, destination imagination locals placement, and FBLA national placement. So that's a year in review. I know that was lengthy, but certainly well worth the time, in my opinion. And again, thank you to the board for your role in that list. Thank you to our administrators, our teachers, and most especially our students and our parents for all they have done to work hard to make that happen. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. And the new web thing is really good. It was just me when I was trying. He has it. It's just me. Anyway. All right, Kana, now it's your turn. You get to come and do your presentation.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the teacher of excellence for the month of September from it's Amy's turn. And so I went around to everybody's classroom rather than sending an email because honestly everybody has face spraying right now, and so maybe your email might not get returned in a timely fashion. And so the very first thing everybody said was, I have to choose one person, but exemplifies excellence in instruction. I said, yes, choose one. And they're like, I give me a second. So gave them a second. And I thought to myself later on, no, that's a really true story about Tammy. So this is just personal now, but my kids came through school at Tammy. And it didn't matter who their teacher was, because I knew they were going to get the very best from whomever they had as their classroom teacher. But all I have to say, the teacher is overwhelmingly better than Coach Jackson. You can't be her tonight because you know. And that as well is a true story. Because when I went into her room, it was 2 days before break, or 1.5. And they were actively engaged in instruction in the class with. And so I had to interrupt her to ask, and with my apologies, but every single day she goes above and beyond for every student. Doesn't have to be a first grader, to be anyone in this building, whether they're parents and here for car riders, and they're late, or she goes above and beyond for her staff. What can I help you with? What do you need? She is an amazing educator, and I am kind of sad that my kids didn't have her. But so our person who works next this month from KNAC, Chris Jackson, representing Katie, and so next month we'll be the next to the as well.
I know one of my fellow teachers last year, and we were very well placed award based on our experience as well. Doesn't matter, it'll be Friday and I'll be in there. Differentiated instruction, I guess we'll be in after it. So, always great to see you.
Okay, so now we have Triad Air Force JROTC flight simulation presentation from
Colonel Talley, welcome.
Here we go. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, on behalf of Senior Master Sergeant Johnson, who is drill practice tonight, with 14 students, ready for competition, and it'll start back up again in January. I don't thank the board for letting me bring this quickly tonight. I'm usually not known for brief briefings, so we'll see if I can do that next time.
We'll stop you.
Yes, ma'am, and I have been stopped before, so it's okay. Just wanted to give you an overview of what we initiated this year. What we started with Flight Simulator program. The goals are 3 primary goals: enhance the aerospace science instruction, That is instruction that Air Force ROTC has already developed for us, but this is an enhancement or improving that instruction. We'll do bookwork, we'll do projects, and we can walk over and fly the simulators and see it in action. That's part of what we want to do. And introduce aviation principles to cadets. You never know where you can find that spark, that they have a desire in the future to pursue an aviation career in some way. It doesn't have to be military. And then the last one is the aviation career choice decisions. I'll show you some statistics right now that got us looking at the aviation program and the flight simulator program. I'll also go over the costs and what we use for the hardware and the future. And the slideshow, I have not had a chance to update, but I'll tell you what we have done today on the program. So the ROTC program, we have the aerospace science instruction, which is provided by Air Force student ROTC for second and third year cadets primarily. And it talks about airplanes flying, what the flight conditions, weather, flight and human body physiology, and flying computers in there, basically how to orient yourself when you're flying. GPS isn't the only thing that will get you there, and sometimes GPS will work. So we want to make sure that they understand what the other parts will be in flying. The simulator program provides hands-on learning. What I say is here at the CA, do it, understand it. There are times when we'll bring one of the simulator systems into the classroom and we'll show them, okay, this is what it means when you are in a 90-degree bank. Here's what the clouds do, here's what the rudder do. If you go to the specifics that are brought out in instruction, but it's just PowerPoint slides. Sometimes it's just flat books. You can actually see it happen. Then we rotate the students through the flight simulators about 6 at a time, as we can. The others in the classroom will have projects and instruction. The others will go and test all that out. And the flight simulator is so sophisticated that they can get you outside the cockpit and see all the control surfaces of the airplane. So when they are in a bank, I can tell them to pause and say, what's going on? Then they go back to the bookwork to say, this is what we were taught, and hopefully it is. So far, we're getting pretty good feedback from it. The program itself is already designed into the software that we use, and then I can also add additional programs in there as I see fit based on instruction or based on goals, such as I can have the cadets fly from Skyview to Kansas City or Skyview to St. Louis and back, and then we'll do real-time maps. Next slide, please. Okay, introduction of aviation principles to cadets. Weekly after-school program. This is the first time we've done this. I don't know of too many ROTC programs that started a co-curricular program, which is an after-school, which is in addition to what's enhanced in classes. The classes focus on second and third years. We decided this year we would concentrate on first and senior cadets. First year cadets took advantage of it, seniors did not this time. There's other opportunities in the future. The first year cadets, we have 7 in the inaugural program this year, and we have been running that since October, and we run about an hour and a half a night. Hands-on approach to understanding principles of flight, cadets flight programs, and then we do abbreviated instruction. It's more fun-based, more hands-on based than it is getting into the curriculum. But then we'll talk about kind of an after action. Okay, you crash. Why? Well, push when you shouldn't have pushed. Why? And then we'll just break that down. Instruments, all of that on the airplane. Cadets have to complete 6 hours of flight time in the simulator. Did know receive a certificate of achievement from the Stillwater Control. At the last slide, I'll show you a picture of those that just received it last Tuesday night. Here's why we did this. 25% of our cadets expressed an interest in the aviation career. 50% of our cadets have expressed an interest in military. The Air Force Chief of Staff said that today, right now, he is short over 1,600 pilots for flight missions. Aviation industry itself has said that in the next 20 years, they think they will need 20 to 40,000 new pilots. Based on retirements, based on expansion of the industry, that they're going to need new pilots. Why not pursue programs like this? This is an update. The Air Force did, Air Force ROTC did implement a scholarship program We opened up the opportunity for 120 cadets to be selected for a college program over the summer to get their private practice license. Room, board, license, FAA certification, approximately $50,000 worth of education without any commitment whatsoever. Next, I called around and asked about where they think the program will go. They have already established an independent organization, an association, to start getting money to make sure that government money dries up. There'll be private money to we have submitted 9 names of our students. I consider all our students ours, but just for your member purposes, it's for the non-Oxford purposes to make the higher percentage of non-Oxford students that have applied. I don't have a gut feel, they've never really done this before. I'm thinking probably 2 or 3 may not have that works, so they took the test, or the aviation qualification test, which they may have. Part of the Air Force Officer Qualifying Test, and part of the ACT math test. They also had to have a 3.0 GPA, and I had to put down their physical training scores from GPA. They already said that 45% of the score will be on the test, the rest of it is board school, they have not told us how that will. I talk to them weekly, because I want to reveal as much as possible, so I can shoot. Tell our students. And they're not revealing anything. I just got on the phone with them today, made sure that they had all our applications. They reviewed Friday, they got them all, they're set, all the tests are in. We'll find out in January if it's selected tomorrow. Then they will need to go get a class 1 physical, make sure that they pass all the health physical required. And we will decide, RTC will decide what school they go to. I'm afraid I did not write down because one of the schools, I'm just not easy. And I think that they will probably go with the closest town. That's in the there are 6 schools that got selected. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Between 7 and 9 each, depending on the school. And again, room, board, all material, everything is provided by the school. There was some initial concern from our parents and others, sending my sophomore to a program away from me for 7 or 9 weeks. Do I trust it? All of these schools have summer high school programs already. This is built into the curriculum will already be there, and then folks know what they're doing with high school students. All of that, this is.
Sally, one, I'd like to thank you for a very large breath of fresh air on the rejuvenation of our Jay Robson program. Second question I want to ask you is, I know you said there was no program through UCM for this summer program. Was that something that UCM chose not to do, or was it just something that Jay Robson decided they were going to select the schools that would participate in that program?
I don't think I don't know the answer, but I will write that down and I will get an answer.
Have you had any FaceTime with Colonel Minetti or Tony Minetti from UCM?
Not yet, sir. No, that is on my agenda to do. That last bullet is something that I want to get into, and it is finding some opportunities for us to cooperate with UCM. One of my briefing points tonight will also be we want to next year start an aviation grant school, which is part of the Air Force ROTC sanctioned honors program. So we can honors credit for a 3rd or 4th year cadet program. We have not done that here before. Not a lot of schools do that. It is a very intensive program that will require at least about 9 to 12 weeks of in-class work to get them ready for their ground school test with the FAA. Right. So that's something that we want to do. What I want to do on that, Dr. Wheeler and Connie, same thing is what we want to do is try to get something connected with UCM that they can help us with incentive-wise. They can help us maybe cut the cost. They're one of the higher cost programs that I've seen, so maybe they can help us out a little bit. Also, get the cadets introduced. They have a Apple Motion Simulator out there, I understand. Maybe get them introduced to this and get them excited about it. A lot of them are nervous. It's interesting. I've been in the military all my life, even as a kiddo. I've been flying all my life, just on airplanes. How many hands raised have they never been in an airplane? The last airplane they were in, they were one. They're scared to death. They don't know how they're going to react. So we already got 12 of them into the U2 simulator. And we're trying to rotate that in. The wife has been fantastic about that program. We had offers to bring them into a quote-unquote real simulator from the A-10 folks. A little bit of rivalry between the B-21 and the A-10 flying. And then I would like to give them some of the aviation. We can only do so much with the flight simulator program. Being somewhat static, it's not supposed to be beyond that. It's just an initial education, introduction, knowledge level, and then move them into programs such as out at UCF. We're also trying to pursue, I've got contact with Civil Air Patrol, if we can get some flight incentive hours with them.
Are they still out of civilian?
They have the plane at civilian. They have a plane. So now I want to be able to apply for those scholarships, as how we call our grants, that I get some of our cadets up in the air, get them in the right seat, let them work the airplane a little bit, and we get them excited. We'll have them say, this is important. Help them make decisions.
Yeah, I would hope that UCM, Colonel Tony Minetti, would be excited about your program, being these former B-2 pilots and here for forever. And he's expanding that UCM flight program by massive amounts. And I would hope that he would want to entertain your thoughts.
From what I've heard, I can't imagine he would. And they have already connected to the program with the Air Force Recruiting Service. That is providing opportunities for up to 5 of their graduates to be nominated to be officers of the Air Force and go through their flying program. I can't imagine he would support us. I just haven't made the time yet to go over there, introduce myself, and introduce what our thoughts on the program. And that's one of my top priorities at the first of the year in January. So I want to go over there and introduce myself, tell them about our program and how to do it.
I think he really, I saw him a couple months ago and he's excited. I think he'd really be happy to go.
I would love that. I look forward to that.
He's a great guy. I think he's really good.
So we, General Harensack, General Nichols, and leadership from UCM have been made aware, just a first introduction about what we're doing here. We started this back essentially upon your hire, May, June, and have kind of started this program. Then there have been some strategic pieces we wrote for the grant through impact aid for construction, which would include the ability to develop a facility that would better serve our program. The second thing that was unexpected was the announcement of the partnership between the Air Force and UCM on those 5 scholarships. And that's when we sent the notice out, hey, by the way, this is the work with Domino's. We'd like to create a continuum partnership. And then the third thing was this piece with the scholarships for our students. So we're pretty excited about that. We'll know in February on our construction grant. It's a coin flip, I would say. So we'll see what happens, but that will be the time when we do really commit. And then the fourth thing that hasn't been announced yet, that I'll go ahead and let the board know, I've been approached by some civic leaders that are heavily engaged with Whiteman Air Force Base from a couple of surrounding communities, and they've expressed interest in bringing their students in, partnering them with the Triad, and being able to bring in some additional school districts into this program. So you'll hear more about that as that formalizes, but things seem to be lining up. It makes way too much sense that this happens. So we're excited about what this will bring, and certainly, to grow your own program. We can't necessarily recruit for the Air Force through JROTC, but we can certainly provide opportunities, and if it sticks, then they can pursue that, sounds like many different avenues. So, I know I'm kind of stealing your thunder, but again, the board knows the history of what has happened over the last 12 months in this program, and we have two rock stars, and they're not only physically changing the feel of their space, but the program itself and the energy around it, not just here, but throughout the region. So thank you to the board again, and certainly thank you to Colonel Valley and Chief Senior Master Sergeant Johnson for their leadership.
I'll try to brief the brief, but I'm not very good at that. This is just wanted you to know what the costs were. Some of the items that we purchased, 3 of the flight coach sets were from the Cylerical grant program for their STEM kit program, so we got those for them. What I owe them is a write-up on how well the program worked for us. We were able to graduate our first 6, I'll show you a picture, and then I've got it incorporated into a curriculum now, so I'll feed them back later about how we use it in our curriculum. The school district provided the flight coach 36 headsets, rudders for another additional 3, and then Mr. Davis helping out with computers, projection systems, smart boards, and if you ever want to not do a regular school board and not be here, you're welcome to come over to us. And I'd love to demonstrate what we've got over there. This is very excited about it. And we can pick someone to be in the one position that will be on the widescreen projection system. If you want to, other people ridicule you, how do you fly? That's where I put my need. But we'd love to have you over there to see the system. The 32-inch TVs are fantastic. They give them a better point of view. One thing we are trying to teach them is you have to look at your full vision. In this program, it's so good that you will see airplanes fly by. It's that good, and that's what we want to use. That's all you want to do. Okay, so this is our crew, 6 of 7. Unfortunately, one young man got the flu. We told him to stay home, and I will keep his certificate for him. That is here. This is one provided by the Civil Air Patrol, and we added because there is not anyone that doesn't like flying. So part of the aviation program is the remove before flight. So we gave all of the students that graduated remove before flight, and before they left, they were all connected to their backpacks. Every single one of them. I said, well, hold them up, and 5 of the 6 up there removed them from the backpack. The other kid said, it took me 5 minutes to get on there. I am not taking it back. You'll kill me if I do. Yes, I will. I will make sure. So we want to continue the program for our curriculum. We have already put about 70 students at an hour of lifetime that were not at the school, but in the curriculum. I just located back in and out, and we've had less than about 25 students that have over 2 hours of time already for this anyway. Again, to try to emphasize and work some of the curriculum that we're presenting. I also want to try to track the graduating students in the future. Where are they going? How does this work? Are they student education careers or careers in aviation or not judging, just one data so we know feedback on if this is helping or not. One of the other things we want to start is also a quadcopter program. We have asked the Air Force, ROTC for one. We've been asked for one in the past, about a year ago. Somehow they ran out of money. We are top of the list. I think we will do that. We are already working with district also. So in the spring, we will probably enhance probably a flight simulator, take them out and let them use some of those techniques for a quadcopter program. Hopefully huge at this point with competitions and others. That's not our focus right now. It's just a general understanding of the program. And the last one is what we talked about, and that is the honors program for ground school. We're going to offer it. It's a pretty tough program. I'm going to scare them. When we advertise the program, it's pretty tough, and see how many take it there and see if they want to come in the program and see if we can work that out from a schedule. So, are there any questions? And I do have yours, and I'll take that back and ask about how the selection process works and how the students are last, and I'll bring that up. Are there any other questions?
I'm directionally challenged, I'm just gonna tell you that, so you probably don't want me to like them. That's why I paid my ticket to the pilot, that's what he said.
Actually, that may be more fun than lunch.
I know, right?
Yes, ma'am, just where's she going? I have no idea, but she's making great time.
There we go, right?
She hasn't hit anyone, so it's okay.
Yeah.
And when you land, you can say, where am I? It works, I've been there myself.
I'm not gonna say where I'm gonna get out.
Yeah, just get out, just go.
Thank you so much, that is awesome. Thank you.
That's, can't get excited about that and what's happening in such a short time. I don't know what excites you, but thank you again for the great direction. And then I'm just going to piggyback that. One of the things that I've heard said many times by a mentor of mine is, one of the keys to moving from good to great as an organization is having the fortitude to make tough decisions, but also among those is selective abandonment of good programs for great programs. And I stopped by McDonald's and talked to a couple of our resident farmers this morning, and we talked about programs, and there was some pretty spot-on feedback about that selective abandonment. And we talked about the drone process in terms of farming and the application there, and the jobs and the GPS, and some of the crossover things that could possibly carry over out of this program into a student that's heading down the ag track. So I'll continue to challenge Mrs. Morris to think very creatively about our programming and how we can get the most out of it for the most kids. Thank you for that.
Next is the Stealth Panther Robotic Classroom Makeover.
I just wanted to quickly share a few pictures. This weekend we had a surprise visit at Mount Buster High School out in our robotics classroom. We had a couple of local businesses that were able to come in and do an extreme classroom makeover for our Team 6424. These are a couple of pictures of donated items from the White Air Force Base that were surplus. And, any of those items that you guys hear of, you're surplusing that are just nice, let us know. We'll gladly find a place for those. But this is the new items, the chairs, the professional cubicles, and they just happen to be orange, which we love. And we came in, those workstations are actually completely networked and electricity is run through those. So we were able to repurpose those donated items and completely redo our lab and classroom out in our robotics area. And that all happened this Saturday. Actually, in the center there, that table, I think they have a large conference table that they're going to actually etch in their number and logo and everything and finish that up. So that will be the centerpiece of that room. And we're just really excited about that. The pictures don't do justice. So we're overseeing ROTC will drop by some robotics as well. And then those who receive a special thank you on this is White Air Force Base, Paul Bills, CNC Paint Pro, and All Pro.
Thank you. How much were the chairs?
We would have to have someone from procurement on base what those $1,000 chairs that were retail.
All right, thank you. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve.
All in favor? Aye. Under new business, approval of bills. Football board. I need a motion to approve this as presented.
Make a motion to approve.
All in favor? Aye. Approval of bills requiring abstention. I need a second. All in favor? Impact date update.
So, just briefly, impact aid, I was able to coordinate this and do a presentation back at the fall meeting conference, and we're pleased to announce that we got notification from Representative Hartzler that that impact aid increase in funding did come in. It's around 50 million, and prior it had been 17 million, so not a huge amount, but it was definitely a move in the right direction. And we just want to express our utmost appreciation to Congresswoman Hartzler for her steadfast support of Navastra and our military connected students. The Senate last week approved a second continuing resolution for FY to keep the government moving. That was a good thing, and hopefully they will get a budget passed that will ensure our funding. Like last year, we have the timing warning of government shutdowns based on negotiations, so hopefully we will keep that moving. And I don't really have any updates. We'll talk about that when we get to the budget, just center information on how we've included the makeup payment from last year with others. But overall, good news. And again, President Trump has pledged his support for our military, and hopefully will continue to educate himself on the value of the active.
Thank you. Next is military or Missouri Seal of Literacy.
So this year there's a new program that Nessie is called the Missouri Seal of Literacy. This is a Missouri that's awarded by local school districts to graduating students who have proven a specific level of proficiency in English and any other world language, including sign language. The graduating class of 2018 is the first class to be eligible for this program. So that is basically the content from a press release that went out last fall. Mrs. Morris and team have put together the proposal, which will allow our seniors this year in 2018 to receive that seal of biliteracy, which would be a seal that would actually get on their diploma. I see no additional cost. It'll change the formality of getting this approved by the board so that we can recognize that on their diploma.
Thank you for that. Missouri Seal of Literacy. That's it, right? Close enough. Okay, thank you. New high school, middle school course description for.
We need that. So, supposed to be action item.
I think I can make one clarification. We have to submit it to them for approval first, and then if they're approved, then you can call that.
Like I said, it's information only tonight.
There we go.
That's it. Okay. Thank you.
So I guess we vote. There we go.
Don't forget your board commissioners will submit that.
Okay, new high school, middle school course description for 2018-19.
So we'll go through these. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll just provide a brief. Air Force Care, OCC, embedded credit, like we have in other programs. We would like to propose embedded credit, half-hour physical education credit, a half-hour credit in personal finance, and then an elective credit. So, like we do with our career education courses, allows students to build up because of that content in those programs. As you heard, we're proposing this AS500 Aviation Honors Grad School program. We're also proposing an Innovation Hour course proposal. Students get to select the topic they're passionate about, they develop an inquiry question about the topic, research it, and plan a project with a only presentation. They'll be in the Smart Zone in the library at the high school, which is a continuously evolving lab for our students. We offer an elective credit, and again, it just offers some flexibility for some of our students on really both ends of the spectrum. It's going to be motivating for all students. Natural resources and conservation within our ag program. This is an ag education course offering to prepare students for activities in the conservation field or natural resources such as soil, water, air, forests, fish, and wildlife for economic and recreational purposes. Advanced livestock production. It's an ag education course offering. It's an intensive study in livestock production, management, marketing, nutrition, breeding, production record selection, animal health, waste management, and conservation practices they use in that program. Speech 1.5 credit and career English 1.5 credit. This is the speech and career education that are offered at the year-long course, reducing the age to a semester course with help here for this class, making instruction more meaningful and allowing more flexibility for students. AP Computer Science Principles. This is going to continue to expand our AP program in conjunction with cybersecurity. And we initially thought we would align this with our JROTC program, but we're actually kind of doing this in alignment with our default program, with AP, with math, and kind of as a crossover. We're shifting away from our current teachers for math offerings to cover these two courses. We know from last summer we are in partnership with UCM on that innovation track of studying cybersecurity, so this would be an initial step of that partnership. And last but not least, additional weighting for AP courses. Currently, our AP annual credit courses are rated at 0.3 additional GPA points. We're recommending that because of the rigor of our AP classes, that we move those to 0.5 weight. And the rationale is approval of this program will represent the additional efforts required of these classes beyond our current advanced course. So, excuse me, currently they're rated at 0.3333. Since we don't do valedictorian, salutatorian, there are no immediate negative unintended consequences, so we're recommending that take place immediately this year.
I've got a question for you on the Innovation Hour course proposal. Is that followed with a speech on their excitement, on their exact passionate topic?
Mrs. Morris could probably answer that, but that's one of the, that's really a project-based kind of course where they come in with the questions, do the research, complete the findings, probably with some type of creative project, and then I would assume there will be a presentation on it, or multiple components of presentations in that.
Well, my question on that then is on the Innovation Hour course proposal and on the speech half credit, career English half credit, would that speech half credit be rolled into that Innovation Hour course proposal as the credit for also the speech portion of the?
Unfortunately not, because there are so many different components of speech that it truly takes them an entire, right now they're using speech for an entire year to cover that whole credit. There are so many different components, it wouldn't be just one opportunity to present. So there are many. That is an ELA credit as well, so they go into all parts of that curriculum as well, so that they can cover that, and that is a legitimate English language arts credit as well. So.
And the other question I had is on the natural resources and conservation and advanced livestock production. is that included, what is that for? What are those two courses for?
Those are to meet the interest inventories that our students have said that they are interested in pursuing in the ag ed fields. And so, based on, just like all of our courses, what we end up actually offering for the next year depends on what our kids select when they go to select their courses. So we're not saying we don't have those courses next year, but we are saying we want to offer them along with our additional, along with the ag ed courses we already have. And then depending on what our students decide that they want, then those are the courses we will actually teach next year. So it's just another opportunity to offer our students some coursework that meets their needs and their interests.
The reason I'm asking is because I know our ag ed program is a floundering program. And I was just wondering if this is try to be a rejuvenation of that program, to try to spark some interest, or just to do a complete wash of the program and start fresh, or, because I know it's floundering as
It is, and yes, that is part of, like I said, it was based on the interest inventory that was given to our students. So they still have to go through their first year of ag education, and then they have the opportunity to go through this. Yes.
Thank you.
I have a question for Ms. Morrison. Anyway, DESE requirement is 24 credits to graduate, right? And we have 26. Okay. I guess the question I have is, the requirement for 26 credits to graduate, does that take away from any opportunities for these kids to gain on an AP or dual credit course? I mean, because it required, you see what I'm saying? Because you got if we were only required to do what DESE says, 24 credits, can they take any other classes that get them college ready besides having to take 2 additional courses or earn 2 additional credits? You see what I'm saying?
I'm not sure that I understand what you're saying.
I think I can answer that for them. The DESE requirement are the core courses.
Yes.
And ours are above and beyond the core courses. We're not changing the core courses that DESE is saying that you have to have. It's just above and beyond that. And I believe they're all in the elective area, aren't they? So really, it's not changing anything.
Well,
I say 26 instead of 24.
Well, what I'm saying is, I'm saying 26 and a kid required to take an second, but that kid had taken an AP course somewhere else and gained college credit instead of filling with an elective. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, the AP courses are above and beyond your normal courses anyway. So
yeah,
there's no difference. You're not changing anything, am I right? I mean,
well, I think what you're saying, now I'm not sure, but many of our core content areas, if they've already met the requirements, they also count as electives. So when we're talking about electives, we're just saying anything above and beyond the actual core, DESE requirements of 24 hours. Okay, for the 24 credits. So with our partnerships with UCM, with our AP, all of those provide opportunities for our students to continue, and not just those, there's CMU and State Fair as well. We have lots of partnerships going on where our kids can actually earn those dual credits. So I don't know if that's where you're going, but they have many opportunities.
Instead of having at the high school level, instead of sitting there having to take an additional class, I can't say time we spend towards college credit elsewhere.
And they can, absolutely they can.
And Connie, correct me if I'm wrong, but with some of the embedded credit, there actually
Even more
opportunities through
yes.
what we're trying to do tonight. We're trying to embed half a credit in another because it needs all the qualifications for both AS100 plus physical education and personal finance all within one class. So it's 2 credentials, so 2 credits in one course within
just that one year.
So we are absolutely opening up opportunities for these kids to be able to go on with their college careers or whatever else that they want to pursue. Yes. We're opening up there are scheduling options, I guess.
Is there any other resources required, whether it's staff, facility-wise, for these?
At this point in time, no.
If I remember Callie's presentation, they're having to get some stuff for 500, right?
Yes.
So,
And I want to say that's going to be provided by the Air Force.
Yes.
So
No, I think that's correct.
I thought what he said was it's kind of like what has happened, seems like it's a 50-50 grant. Is it not what you said?
I don't believe so. 50-50 to the state grants.
So basically, we paid for 3 of the stations that they have today, and they got a grant through ROTC for like the other 3. I was thinking some of that was similar, but there is no other.
I mean, there may be some minor costs with material and some supplies and equipment, but I don't, we've been talking, I don't know if there's going to be a substantial cost, facilities-wise or resources-wise, above and beyond what we would expect.
And we have to wait to see the amount of interest, right?
Right.
So,
That includes personnel.
Yes, sir.
One other question. On the speech and career English, when will this take effect?
Coming school year. The 18-19 school year.
For this year, the career English is a year old.
Correct.
The reason I asked that question is Joseph.
Right.
Just check it. You like it?
Great, any more questions?
okay, thank you. New information safeguards.
We need to approve it.
That was just,
We'll do the first read and approve next month. Again, no action on this. This is just information to look forward. And Mr. Davis is going to kind of walk us through this. We did a first reading on the policies last month. We have a second reading on the policies later in the agenda. But the 2 policy question was the EHBC, which talked today about the information security officer. And we had basically a recommendation from the MSB not to adopt if we were not able to effectively fulfill that policy, which where you're recommending not adoption, but we are going to go ahead and recommend or have put in place the following to further enhance our student privacy and security. And Mr. Davis, take it away.
Okay, last year, Missouri State Auditor went out and audited student data privacy at five different school districts throughout the state. And every one of them failed the audit, basically. So MSBA came out with some policies to try to enhance districts' support and liability with respect to student data privacy. So what we came up with was found a company out there called Education Frameworks, which is they have a service called Enterprise, and what it is a huge database that rates and ranks all the different websites and programs that are used by schools throughout the United States. And they're ranked on a 5-point scale, and they're ranked in 10 areas of 10 areas that are scored. The 10 pieces, the basic pieces that are scored are on the website, the privacy policies posted, data is used for school purposes only, parents can request deletion of data, parents cannot delete data via an online form, student data is transferred encrypted, regular data backups are running, data retention is for school purpose only, and student data is securely protected. Okay? So everything out there that we currently use and that other schools use is ranked in this way. So they go out and this company goes through all their websites, goes through their terms of service and their privacy policies on each of the websites. And these services are available for right now. Parents can actually go onto our website right now and see something we're actually adding to this list because we're monitoring what we currently use.
Why is garage things on?
Because we use garage. Every application that any student data can be entered into, a name, an ID, or anything else like that that's related if they're logging into an account, whether it's on an iPad, because garage data is backed up on an iPad. The song you create is backed up onto iCloud, which pertains to data. Okay, so that data, if it has anything to do with a name, email address, their student ID, anything else like that, it has to be protected. So besides the websites that get rated, all of the programs that we currently use are also being rated, and we're going to give them a thumbs down whether the teachers can use them or whether they cannot. And it's not just the tech department making that decision now on what to be used. So when the terms of service changes on, let's say, Spelling City, and some new company buys Spelling City and they change the privacy policy, well, that privacy policy is monitored by their database, and anything that's changed in that policy is tagged, and we are notified that those policies have changed, so we can look at it and then and check to see how they re-rank them, and if they're now failing because it's changed, we can then remove that application or that service from use within the district if it endangers student data, or we can be held liable for the loss of student data or compromise of that data. So that is one service that we're using to help mitigate some of the policies and the cost of implementing some of the policies that MSBA came up with. One of the other main things involved in this too is student safety online. And because we've got students that have computers 24 hours a day from kindergarten to 12th grade, the tech department is not up and monitoring everything 24 hours a day. Right now, the only thing that we've been doing is basically trying to keep kids off inappropriate websites. Well, how do we keep them from self-harm? How do we keep them from emails where kids are talking back and forth and they're talking about doing something to the school, doing something to other students, that type of thing. Use of alcohol, drugs, porn, whatever it may be. Well, we can't monitor that. We can monitor emails or words that are in the email, but we can't see what they're actually saving on Google Drive, what's being put out there. So if somebody's got a note out there that is talking about something that they should be talking about, we have no way to see that with them. So we're now partnered with a company called Gaggle. They monitor everything that goes on with our student Google accounts, that's the Drive. So any documents they create, any email that flows through the system, it's all monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And they will notify the principals, whoever is on the list, anything that goes on that needs attention. They can also, if we agree, they can also contact the community. So there's a small little video there that gives you an overview of basically how Gaggle works. We're doing everything we can to keep students safe.
G Suite for Education and Office 365 are, but they also can be dangerous, like digital playgrounds without fences or recess monitors. Gackle Safety Management protects your students and helps them become responsible digital citizens. By combining machine learning technology with trained safety experts, Gackle analyzes and reviews content found in online file storage, inbound and outbound email, attachments, and links to websites. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, Gackle is on the lookout for references to drug and alcohol use, intentions of violence, sexual content, self-harm, hate speech, pornography, and more. To comply with CIPA, the Children's Internet Protection Act, schools must have an internet safety policy that ensures the safety of minors using email, chat rooms, and other forms of electronic communication. In addition, schools must provide security measures to protect students against content that is obscene or pornographic. Gackle Safety Management provides real-time image analysis that detects pornography and obscene images before they reach students. If pornography appears to depict an underage student, Gackle notifies a school or district emergency contact. And to protect you from the risks involved in handling child pornography, Gackle files a report with NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Gackle Safety Management has your back. Here's how. If a student violates your internet safety policy, they receive warnings for infractions, such as minor profanity, insulting language, or provocative images. For more serious situations, such as incidents of bullying and mentions of drugs or alcohol, Gackle safety representatives forward the content to school or district contacts for further review. When there's an imminent threat to a student's safety, which can involve self-harm or harm to others, Gackle notifies a school emergency contact and, when time is of the essence, can even reach out to law enforcement. School and district leaders have access to the Gackle Safety Management dashboard for insight into student behavior. Discover which schools and students have the highest number of incidents, the communication tools being used, how you compare to other schools and districts across the country. The dashboard also helps you decide where to direct digital citizenship resources. With Gackle Safety Management, you can create a positive school climate and increase student achievement. It's easy to create a safe digital learning environment in only a few minutes. Implementation requires little to no school or district IT resources. Gackle Safety Management works behind the scenes and can be set up on a short phone call. Make G Suite for Education on Office 365 safe for your students.
So we've gone ahead and started the implementation of this, and this game will take effect when everybody returns back. The other one is already in effect, we're using it now, and as the school year goes on, we're going to be able to do all the teachers in the district, file everything that they're using, because one room may be using this type of service out there, and one room uses Spell City, and another some other application. So we're going to gather a list of all that. And in the future, anything new that's going to be used in the classroom will come to the tech department so that we can write it into the system before we actually purchase something, buy something that we can't actually use. That's basically where we're at. Any questions on it?
Well, first of all, I felt like I was watching a commercial for Gackle.
Yeah.
And my next question is, I probably don't need to ask the question, how much Gackle costs, so we'll forget about it, forget about that. But they did feel like I was watching a commercial for Gackle.
And that's basically what it was, but it basically explained exactly what it does.
Have you had a chance to run like a beta test on it, to where you go on there and?
When we first went through a 1-1 program 11 years ago, we used Gackle. And it was at that time, they did not provide their own monitoring. Everything went to a console where the tech department went in and we looked at everything and we checked it overnight. And the list grew as more students came online. And so it became manageable as long as it's email. But at that time, there was no way to get into the files and things like that. But it did a great job on email. We had a lot of back in the day things that it did stop. So it does work.
But as it's been tested in modern day technology, that we go on there and say, I'm going to kill you.
Oh,
And
it'll stop.
it comes in and
Then stop.
has it run the notifications like, and everything like it says it's going to, or?
That's what we're setting up now.
So you didn't, you guys haven't used it prior to setting it up? They didn't give you like a 60-day?
No, because what happens is it has to integrate down into our e-school. So I have to give them administrative permission to get down in and do what they need to do in our system, in our domain. So there's just been no way to do that. We just started this.
Well, once it integrates, what's the time period before the prescription or subscription? When does that start? Will there be some tests run on it?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I just want to make sure that we're investing in this thing, that it works, and that it isn't just somebody out there saying, yeah, it works, and then it's got like 5%.
Have I not used it for 2 years prior, before when it's an annual type system, I would need to look at it. But I have okay.
Yeah, I would just like to see some tests run with you know, putting things on there, you know, that everybody's made aware of that are gonna happen. And put some things on there to see if the actual process of notifications, et cetera, take place. Just to make sure that we're getting a solid product and not just something they say is gonna work. And once again, like I said, you know, to make sure it only has like a 20% accuracy rate or something like that, instead of being like a 98.9 or something, to where, you know, you are gonna monitor, you wanna make sure it is being monitored and the notification process filters down as they're saying it should. So that's just me. Well, but yeah, I can run it.
I mean, our government then watching you.
Right now, in certain areas, I can filter email right now, but I can only filter it based on the single word. Okay? So that single word might be, we'll take the word ASS. Okay? If I enter that into the system as a word that I want to flag, anything that begins with ASS, has ASS in the middle of it, has ASS at the end of it, will all be tagged. Okay? Stop. And the word assume, every email that has the word assume, will be stopped. It's not move on to its destination until one of the tech guys looks through it and goes, okay, that's why it stopped. That's what we're doing right now, and some of the principals are getting these emails.
I guess what I'm more concerned with is the middle of that scale to the.
Oh, yeah, the more serious.
I could care less about if somebody swears on it.
Yes.
It's just, I want to make sure that.
But right now, I have no way of, I'm blind to the middle and up.
Right.
Okay, and that's the part why now that we've got students 24 hours a day from kindergarten on up, we need to be a little more proactive in that area so that we can catch those things. So if we only get, even, and I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but if you got a 10% notification right now, you got a 0%.
Right.
Okay, you save one life or not, or you know that. So it's hard to determine, but I know it works. It's based on what I have for.
So do they give you any information on like what the percentage of potential threat to district or nothing like that?
No, they don't. I mean, it's just, all they do is monitor what goes on, they tag what goes on, and they have analytics that go on, so you get, and there will be a dashboard that you can look at on Dr. Wheeler's computer to see, you know, what trends are in email, what's going on in email, that type of thing. We used to be able to enter in our own words and phrases and follow. I don't know if you can still do that or not. I'll find that out in a second. But that type of thing. In the area, none at all. I mean, that's another area where we're taking the lead is because we are the one-to-one district in this area basically. So we're moving forward and being proactive.
So,
and providing services.
So one-to-one isn't a new thing, but we, typically we rely on a content filter. We use Lightspeed. That's an industry standard content filtering system. But within that, we want to take some additional steps. There's still, and this partly is not just about, about the protection of privacy, but it's also about trying to detect bullying and some of the cyberbullying and some of those pieces. So as you can see, but it's an additional step. I know there was conversation on the tech chat group about this, if I understood that correctly, and it's an investment, but probably one that's very, very much worth taking.
Is this only on the network here, or if they take advice? So as long as they're logged into their computer, what about whenever you have a Gmail account on that?
If it's the school's Gmail account to log into, to be honest, with Gmail has anything to do with their drive or any of it.
Is this from students to everybody, including us, or just students?
This is just covering students, from tracking parents and that. But if a student was to send an email to a person on the staff that is inappropriate, okay. That's one. But I'm not, nobody's looking at, Gail's not going to be one of our staff.
Why not?
Or you.
Why?
Because there's really no mandate to do it. If you send something to a student that's inappropriate, to act, it's all that they can.
Well, yes,
Even going the other way.
I guess if we get late to the question.
Because if you curse in your email, we don't really care about it. I don't think anybody needs to know if you use it appropriately. Email, it's up to you to get upset. Curse in your email. I don't know. If you want it, that's up to you.
Well, essentially we're beating around the bush, but it comes down to the personal privacy when it comes to employees. And right now we are taking a step to protect our students and do our due diligence in the school district, cover ourselves for devices that we put in the health environment. So that's kind of where we are right now. We have discussed with the student or the employee monitoring. They're still filtered the same way, if I understand correctly, on Lightspeed in terms of inappropriate content and material. We want to respect their privacy as professionals in this room right here. At least at this time, I would need much more time and consideration to even start talking about monitoring employee emails. Right, and to make it abundantly clear, this is a student-focused conversation. And student apply for that. Period, exclamation, exclamation.
Thank you.
Is the video ready?
Thank you.
Okay.
Any more questions? All right. That's Mr. Davis.
Thank you.
Teacher salary comparisons. This is for informational.
Okay, so as we head into kind of approaching the collective bargaining season, like we have the last 2 years, we put together our teacher salary comparisons. And we're just going to go through this kind of quickly. There's not a lot of, this should not look new to any of us in terms of how we compare. Just briefly, the board identified the 16 district cohorts of competitor districts that Navasser competes against for recruitment and retention of high quality educators. The board set the kind of the goal of hitting at the average range of this. We do have some more rural areas. We do have some more suburban areas. So these data points across the salary schedules have been averaged at the bottom. We provide where Nowmaster ranks on that data point, what the average is, what the Nowmaster amount is, and then we provide the difference from the Nowmaster data point to the average. So you can see everywhere that we're in the green, we are above average in this cohort. Down at the bottom in yellow shows the percent to the average of this cohort and where that aligns. So you can see our base is about 4% above the average. Our Bachelor 1 Max is about 113% of the average. We're third in maximum number of steps, fourth in maximum Bachelor total steps. Then you go on across, so you kind of see how that looks. The one area that we clearly have identified as being underneath the average of that cohort is in the specialist space. We rank 11 out of 16, or about 3% below the average. So this is one area, and this information is public, but it will also be sent to the bargaining unit representatives so that they can kind of see where we compare. To take that a step further, we break that down into daily rate of pay. So we take the number of work days of each of those districts. You can see down here that we work about 1% less than the average, or approximately 1.7 days less than that average on our teacher contract. That takes that bachelor base up to about 105% of average. And then on across, we're still obviously low and high in the same points. That's the data that we will kind of use as a reference. It's what we've used the last 2 years as reference, and that is pretty cut and dry in terms of the teacher salary comparisons. We're also putting together, it's taking a little more time, but we're also putting together that comparison on our insurance premiums and what our contribution rate is there, so we can kind of compare apples to apples, at least on contribution. When it comes to plan, looking at how the plans compare, it's pretty messy, but we can at least look at what we're contributing. Along those lines with insurance, we can talk more about that later. We should know sometime around, hopefully around the first last of January, 1st of February, on what our renewals will look like. So we're anxious to get this. And really, again, that's provided for information.
All right, thank you. Administrator salary comparison. Again, this is for information only.
Pretty much the same conversation. The only difference is instead of data points across salary schedules, many of the districts in the board identified cohort don't operate off the schedule, so we compare salaries. Same format. The only thing I would point out here in this comparison is that those areas that are shaded in light gray, those are from the actually should be the 16-17 school year, because that information is not readily available online or through what we do within our conference. So there may be a 2 to 3% increase in those, but that's what they were last year. Again, we have a rank across the top. We have our average salary. We have listed our current salaries, and then the difference between the average. Important to note here, this year when we did our conference, our superintendent out of Pleasant Hill actually puts that together with this team. This year I asked that we include all additional stipends, mileage, phone, annuities, and those are all included in these numbers. So that kind of gives you a snapshot of where we are as an administrative team. And again, that's providing for information only.
I got a comment here. Last year in our discussion, we talked about getting an independent third party to do that. Have you started that process?
I've talked recently with President Davis about that, and I will begin that process. I haven't done that based on what I received in terms of feedback, but they're going to tell you what you already know. But after talking with Ms. Davis, I know the board wishes to do that, and frankly, even though it's gonna cost us a reasonable amount of money, it does take some of that, it allows the administration and the board to make it some of the process, and not, have that truly independent outside look at that.
I believe that we discussed how they would take into account more tenure and things like that in lieu of just a snapshot with no basis. So it could provide some granularity that, yes, we are average, but our person is relatively new in that position where average is closer to a mid-career person that wouldn't necessarily have the years of service to substantiate that. So I think now's the time to do that for us to get more information.
I will initiate that meeting.
In that, I would like for you to bring back to us looking at what they feel their recommendation would be to look at what's reasonable. So whether you're looking at tenure or stipends, like we mentioned there, all those things, I think we were looking for a holistic comparison that really enabled us to get apples to apples. Because now the snapshot of time is not that great.
But I will, like I said, I talked to Ms. Davis, and we will initiate that immediately, and hopefully be able to turn it around in time to inform decisions. I hesitated on that just based on cost. And based on reference feedback from some people I talked with about that process, but again, probably money well spent, and that's what those service providers do professionally, so it can again allow the people within the organization to stay unbiased, which I think is what you're saying. We will do that, and so you're asking me to provide an upfront to the board what we will be looking at? Yes. And 10 years of experience, degree.
I'm not here on those. I think those are important, but if that's going to cost 10 times more, I'd say we need to balance that out. I'd like to see what you, in talking with the companies that do that, recommend first of all, and we'll discuss it.
Let me see what's available on spouse would be based on this criteria. I do. I want to make sure that it's a good investment and that it's not filling blanks where the current measuring stick goes in. And I would say that to say, if you look at some of the salaries from last year, they're quite different from the salaries from this year. And I think in reality, what happens is it's negotiated, or it comes down to the preference of, we want this candidate and we have the means to do it. We want this, or we provide this salary and put some heat on it in the past, or we review this contract. We went lower. So I think there's going to be some of that in there, and hopefully that will be vetted out. But I do think some of that is going to be missing. We can also provide the MSTA salary study that I can get to the board. It's a a snapshot of the entire state, and think we get some pretty good indicators as well. We can do that as well.
Does it have more granularity than this does, or just high level down?
Although it hasn't done it, it's a pretty big document. But I think what you run back to is the 540 districts, probably the vast majority don't operate off administrative salary schedules. So it's going to be interesting to see what that means. And then some of the ones that do, they work that salary schedule backwards in arrears to meet where they are. So we'll see, but we can definitely see what the cost is and make that back. I will read the process.
Okay, thank you. Impact aid educational tax credit resolution.
So items I and J are really presented to the board for feedback. Initially, I was wanting to draft resolution on, and I kind of heard some feedback on this, and wanted to really open this up to the board to see if we want to take a formal statement on either of these issues. We know they're coming down the pipe, and as I mentioned prior, I try to handle that in a positive, cooperative, professional manner. But at the same time, usually resolutions are more forward in stating oppositions and stating more stuff opinions about what's going on. Certainly, those are going to hit two things, what's going on with our governor right now, and then what's going on with our secretary of education. And there are some, usually the larger districts, are the ones that come out on most of these issues and do resolutions. Our situation is pretty unique with our military connected students. So we're looking at the feedback from the board on what you're putting in on resolutions on those two items.
You know, in my opinion on this, the way I see this is step 2 of the demolition of smaller school districts, et cetera, because I believe step 1 was the formulary that they went into several years ago about funding of school districts and how they have it worded now where this number saying you can be at 60%, and we're saying that you're at 100% of funding. It's just eyewash numbers. That was step 1. Step 2 is this new direction that the governor is taking. And I totally agree that it's for consolidation of smaller districts that are absorbing tax dollars that they don't want to send to those districts. So we take small school districts like Archie, Cleveland, and we combine them into one district. That alleviates so many teachers, alleviates so much tax dollars going to those schools. But I think that if that's the direction that he wanted to go with that, I don't think he took into consideration the Leonard Wood, Nownosk school districts, into the fact that the tax dollars that come to these districts are slighted at best, and that we rely on the state funding and the federal impact aid to have our schools operate. And if, of course, the federal impact aid will go away if a student leaves this district and goes to another district. So if you have 10 that leave this district, that's what, $70,000 or $80,000 that would go with those students, which would provide a great impact to this district. I don't know what his thinking is or what the direction that he's really trying to do here. In the cities, I think it might work. Kansas City, St. Louis, Springfield, possibly Columbia. But the rural districts, I don't think were taken into consideration, for this funding proposal that he went after. But that's my opinion, and whether it's valid or not, I don't know, but that's the way I see it.
Right now, it's your guess is as good as mine. We organizationally and many of us individually have asked for a sit-down dialogue where the Show Me State come out, visit us, let's talk, and get our heads together about what's best for our kids. And we've had critics, and in response, administrators have been attacked. So there's something clearly that he has in mind, and that he's steadfast about. And right now, we don't really know the why or the how.
Well, I think then if that's the case, then we get our voice out there. I mean, that's just my thought. We get our voice out there and let it be heard before, we're trying to play catch up.
So one of the things that I had in the draft is the mission of the Impact Aid program. I can't repeat it verbatim, but essentially the mission of Impact Aid is to provide support to local school districts to educate all students for those districts that have lost the ability to generate local tax dollars because of Indian lands, federal lands, military bases. And it's interesting to me because you think that Impact Aid, the mission would be to send those dollars to support those federally connected students, but it's more than that. It's support those students and all students that have been negatively impacted by the district's inability to raise tax dollars. And I think that's a misconception. And as we hear the proposals to redirect that Impact Aid funding to follow these kids, essentially what's going to happen is the local kids are going to be the ones that really miss. All kids will, but it's also the local kids. And then the other piece was, even if those dollars did follow, if the formula isn't changed, we estimate that a student that lives on base and goes to non-industrial schools today, that same student, if they live on base and go to any other school district, we believe 2/3 of that Impact Aid funding will not follow that student because of the way the formula has been established. But clearly, the formula will be recalculated in the instance that this program was. And then the other point is, since 1950, this is one of the countries, the nation's oldest educational pieces of legislation, and it's proven to work since 1950 for kids. So, if nothing else, it's important that our community understands that, in my opinion.
I believe it's a very, very important almost a dangerous situation that if it was to go through, it could create quite an impact on the state, a large impact. Because not only would you lose partial federal funding, but you lose state funding that would go with that student. And who knows, I know the original content was, and I think that was changed somewhat last year, that the losing district was responsible for the transportation for the student to be transported to the gaining district.
Right.
So, I mean, this could turn, I know that was changed, but that was just one of the things that was caught by accident, that what else is going to be in this thing that's going to be an eye opener, that if it passes through and he pushes it, what's really going to come to fruition on this whole thing that we just don't know about yet, because he's not talking and he's not putting out any information, he's just dropping little hints.
Well, so a couple of things. So we have Navanaster and we have Williamsville. Those were two of about 30 heavily impacted, military impacted districts in the country. The difference is Waynesville is the big player in the region, with lots of outlines. So there's a chance they could lose some, but we're sitting in Waynesville tonight. I'm not as concerned because there's probably a chance that there's going to be students that will come in.
Right.
Along those lines, Waynesville is also a much larger economic driver than is Miami Air Force Base. So I work with Brian Henry very closely. He is absolutely on the same page with me opposed to this, but at the same time, I think there's less to lose there. Now let's take us from Waynesville as the board and superintendent and move us to Warrensburg. If we're sitting over there and we say, God, we can pick up 500,000 military connected kids, you know, I think we would be having a different conversation.
Yeah.
If we're in Sedalia, we're having that same conversation. So it's a really interesting situation, and I don't think it's by accident that it was a legislator out of Warrensburg that was so quick to attach on the Senate 313 last year. So I happened to run into him the night after our commissioner got canned out in public and told him that we needed to sit down and talk and try to, I needed to understand what's going on to make sure that there's not something I'm missing. But anyway, that's where we're at. I don't intend to put us in direct cross arrows of our governor, but at the same time, we got to fight for our kids. And that's kind of how I feel about it.
Let me ask you a question. So say we have, say, 10 kids leave here and go to Warrensburg, but we have 10 kids from Sedalia come to our school district. Is it a wash or is it?
No, it's not a wash because we get about 4 times the amount of funding for students that live on base versus students that live off base. So for every on-base student that would leave to go to somewhere else, we would need 4 more from out of district to carry in that same amount of impact aid. But instead of educating one on that money, we're educating 4 now. So that, but if you can have 400 go from Valdosta to Warrensburg, it's probably a winning situation for that district and community.
Yeah, they would gain heavily too. I mean, it would be a tremendous impact for them as far as the game.
And part of that, I think 3 years ago, a lot of that would have been because of soccer and would have been because of golf maybe, and maybe robotics and maybe advanced placement, maybe ROTC and some other opportunities. And that's why we started a couple of years ago in trying to get out ahead of this, to try to be more of a package. But housing is an issue too.
Yeah.
So.
But, you know, as we had talked before on that, you know, the best way for this district is to remain viable, is to change with technology. And I think we've done that very well so far. And, you know, even with the new courses that are being offered for next year to high school, you can see that trend once again going that direction. And as long as we maintain that, hopefully it will become a gain instead of a loss, because we have everything now that we didn't have just a few years ago.
Right.
And, you know, and this board is very open to changing technology. And, you know, as you can see with computers we bought, so everything's always up. We never go back.
So I'll need some feedback from the board on maybe we want to make draft a public statement. But for our military parents, the thing that I would stress most is right now we're in a very good position to be almost, we're almost, I mean, practically 2 out of 3 students are military connected. So we're almost not a completely private educational provider for Whiting Air Force Base, but we're pretty darn close to it. And right now, we've built the relationship to be very responsive to their direction. And we desire to continue that. And there's a real advantage to the base to recognize, maybe not everywhere, but at least in Missouri, we've got a pretty high performing responsive district for Whiteman and for Winslow. So hopefully we can stress that, and hopefully we as a district will keep getting better and improve that perception.
So do you want some direction on this from us as far as putting out?
I do. I kind of got some random feedback that we may not want to take a public statement on that, and just before we put something out there, I thought I'd pass it by the board to see if you guys want to draft something and review it, or kind of take a side seat for now and see where we go, and put some direction in that.
What is the pros and cons of Baltimore?
I think one of the pros would be that our voices sound.
One of the,
Yeah.
the big con, I mean, typically the administrators, the superintendents that are most vocal on this, and even maybe to an extent, individuals on boards that are most vocal, some of the big money that supports this will get personal, you know, and start a smear campaign. I've seen that happen with a former Missouri National Superintendent of the Year, because he was standing up against some big time donors and some of the big opposition to public schools. So, you know, I have some personal stake in that, and then as a community and as a district, we're far from perfect. So we can just expect that there may be some organized opposition to, you know, the same as, I mean, the governor's kind of made it pretty clear. We stood up in the right way to say, hey, let's sit down at the table and talk and understand. And he personally attacks and tries to pit us against each other. So that's the downside. But along with that, I really do believe that we're already in the crosshairs with our future.
I think maybe we should take a wait and see approach.
Especially in that Jack out.
He's been quiet. We've sent out, I don't want to go there, but we've had a lot of really good press in the last 2 years, and we've sent out press releases on that really good press. And the only place you'll see it is in our hometown, Mount Drive. And I don't think that's biased. So we can expect that we kind of know where that will land. Go through this.
Something I would really my own wait. If you have another paper on it, you see a little bit more about how it works out.
No, I would at least think an education process should be done to the local community and to the base on this whole situation. Because you didn't want to reach out state law to at least to go local. Because it can have a very large impact. And again, it could be a positive impact. I said, we don't know. I mean, if you look at the annual scores, we killed it. You know, it's like parents sit down there and Warrensburg. But I don't know. You never know what people were thinking, you know, but if you give them a little bit of education on what the government is doing, that may help.
But then again, you gotta expect that it's gonna stay within this community.
No, you don't have to expect it to stay here. You just need to keep talking about it.
But at this point, financially, we have to. We don't even know crystal ball, know whether or not it's coming.
It's the,
Well,
talking about
we don't know for certain.
Well,
yeah, you do.
about an article series, with the critical information, but it's gonna be hard to craft that without talking about the current actions that have been taken. And before I put together a 6 or 8 article series, I really want to see where the board was, because I'll either be pulling words and really just talking about historical way of business and not address the current situation. Or if I address the current situation, I'm going out on a limb solo without the board's position.
I just think it's scary on the way that he stacked the Board of Education and in his favor of this talk that he's been talking for 2 years. Now he's got the support of the board. And there you go. It's going to happen.
But it seems like whatever we say here is not enough, so there's a negative impact out there, and that we can out there, so we have to consider that. It seems like never look like they're positive in our direction.
Well, the one thing that we can do though, we can look at this at all, but and it's not a decision that Steve needs to make tonight. One thing that we've talked about for a while, that we've already started, that we probably get better, is telling our story. And that means not all meetings, out days, parents. That means even the non-officer and those parents, I mean, everybody. The more we tell our story, the more people are going to say, wow, look at non-officer, that's where I'm going to be. And so it's going to help us, whether we fight this fight or attracting new families to the base. So that would be probably the starting point. And then from there, we can make some decisions over the next few months depending on the information that we get out of it.
That almost is verbatim what I've been sharing with our admin team this week. So that's going to be priority number 1 until we come back. And we're going to have to be, we the last 2 years we've done this Wyman town hall feedback meeting. We had little success in pulling people, so we got to revamp that. I think you're right, and but I've said it once, I've said it a dozen times to our team. What we say and how we tell our story is going to have a larger impact on perception than just buying things. And that's something that's 100% within our control.
I think marketing, how we approach the town hall meetings, and getting the information out, marketing that more so that people are more aware of what we're doing. And we talked about, in sessions, how do we get parents into the schools to learn about what their kids are learning and to know about what leaders teach their kids. And so looking at those different options and ideas would be.
Well, I think you're right about it when you start talking about the accomplishments of this district and the 10 accomplishments that we listed, and the fact that we've got a new website and trying to keep up with the latest, put our name out there, that's a good idea.
Well, yes, and yes. And the other thing that we talked about is we're going to do maybe 1, 2 more press releases, and if they're not picked up, and then we're going to start buying our own ads. And we may put at the bottom of that ad, this article is paid for by a taxpayer not the public schools. Because I think a few of those will generate some healthy feedback and we get some more coverage. But I mean, again, what do you do? We got good scores to share.
Is there anywhere in Missouri that the charter schools have been successful other than St. Louis?
I think the charter schools are successful. This is just as direct as I can get. The schools are only going to be successful when they have high quality, dedicated, caring, professional teachers in the classrooms.
Yeah.
And low performing school districts that perform low across the board, it's a direct result of low performing teachers in the classroom. to the most extent. I mean, student issues are more challenging in some places, but overall, it comes back to the teacher and how they're supported. And you can see, take Kansas City, for example, that dropped from 70,000 students in the 50s to 17,000 or 15,000 currently. What you get left with is you get a lot of, there's a challenge with the quality of educators in your classroom who all happen to be teachers. And when you go in and punch in a charter school that takes 1,000 kids, then that district gets to rip to your teachers. And essentially you get fresh blood that way. So that's one of the things that charter schools can offer. And it is a backdoor way to attack teacher tenure. And most people won't say that, but I think that's where charter schools are able to break the system and get higher quality teachers. Does it always work? No, but I think that's where you'll find pockets of success. But the other issue is those charter schools also if you look at their enrollment trends, I think there are pockets where they've done some selective enrollment of students as well. So anyway, overall, charter schools, their performance is far lower than on average than the performance of public schools on average.
I'd like to kind of build on what has been said. I think we should focus our efforts on more things that we can control, whether that starting with that, listening to our story, but we also need to analyze, what are people coming to like? I believe what you're focusing on people that are already at Wyoming. I think it's important to take their considerations in, but we're really trying to capture that person moving to this area and find out what is important to them. And I think we know part of the things that are important that are non-school related, whether it's housing, amenities, whatever. But if there are other issues that we do have control over that I think deserve our attention first before we go out on this. And it's been mentioned that there are several things that go into the selection of a school district and the areas they move in. And one thing that we can do is try to find out what those hot things are, which I think down deep, I think we know what several of those are. We need to build those in our district. And make sure to come to us asking for resources, and we need to support that with resources. Whether that's from what we've already started doing with AP courses, robotics, athletics, going down the line. We need to look at what we can do to strengthen those. And then it becomes a non-issue at that point in time, where we are heads above everything that's around us. That to me is where we need to focus our efforts.
More basements in the ground.
And I think
more basements in the ground.
Well, again, focus on what we can control. It is the main thing I'm going to say.
I think one idea would be for our students to be the ones to come up with a way to tell our story. Because nobody's going to be able to tell our story better than if they're living it every day. And so, I mean, it would be a great project for the high school to come up with a commercial about us, or a little video about what it means to be a Navajoster. And really, I mean, that's just one idea of probably 100,000 that those kids could come up with on how to tell our school and the great things about our school. And not just, I think Navajoster is great, but here's why, and let's give them all our story. So just thought.
And even adults that have, come through here, why they were, well, maybe even why they retired and still here in Navajoster. That could be a good project for.
We appreciate the board for approving the digital media stipend for our high school business teacher last year, and we will work to get some of those. I certainly have some ideas on what I'd like to see. And we have a lot of stuff, but I think we could very couple very important key messages and get those out.
Yeah, even if it could be put on a new website as a little, welcome to the Not Noster thing.
Well, we, for a long time, Tony, but we connected with Tony, got a good landing spot for those kinds of things, and now you'll see more of those start to populate as we go through.
All right. For discussion.
Thank you.
Under old business, 2017 APR. This is just for information only.
So last month, the board was briefed in administrative content on the outcomes of our APR, which we're still embargoed at the time. So we're gonna go through those in more detail now. And a lot of this should be old hat for you guys, so we're gonna go through rather quickly. Got talking my figure out that. APR Basics, that's our annual performance report from DESE. It takes in academic performance measures in math, science, and communication arts in grades 3 through 12, as well as factors such as college and career readiness, attendance rate, graduation rate, and dropout rate. And it serves as one indicator of the overall performance of the school district. Our APR results in 17, we went up from our personal best in 16 to a personal best in 17 of 99.3. From 98.9 last year. Again, that was top in the Johnson, Bettis, Henry, and Lafayette counties for all K-12 districts, as well as all districts in the Missouri River Valley counties. This year, we increased our score in college and career readiness as a result of the advanced placement efforts. So we were proud to see that plan did deliver results. Here's our APR summary. You can see that we received all of the points in the academic achievement areas. We did have, we missed 1 point in the subgroup performance. And we do have a strategic plan on how we're approaching our students that are on the alternative math assessments. So we expect to pick up some points there next year. We also know that we have some work on ECT as well as just some areas for need of growth on our overall academic performance. So here is our Johnson County cohort comparison. Following is the MRVC comparison. There's definitely a big disparity across those districts. So we're glad that we're on one end of the spectrum, not the other. Oh, that was last year. You can see where I was in there. Improvement targets for the year. I continue to strengthen our AP program. Again, overall academic achievement, math and comm arts, as well as subgroup achievement in the special education area. We already have some strategic plans in place to address all 3 of those goals. And I think that's all. Again, if you get a chance to thank our teachers, I know they would appreciate it, but they certainly deserve to come back yet again this year. That's worked out well done. And that's it.
2017 DESE accreditation information.
Yeah, this came in today in the mail, and it's just delivered as a matter of record that we were notified that we are fully accredited at the school. So just put that in for FYI.
Next is the affiliate handbook, and I do believe this is for another reading.
Right, I did receive feedback on this item being an action item tonight and request for additional time to review that. So I'm recommending that we conduct only a second reading, and we are going to take some steps to invite in the leadership of those affiliate organizations affected by this handbook, make sure that they're aware of why we're doing this, and then we'll bring that back to the board at a later date.
MSBA 2017 seed policy updates. This is a motion to adopt these as presented with the exception of EHBC and KJ.
So, this is actually second reading, and we did pull out from last week, as we discussed, policy HBC, as well as policy KG. I'm recommending that the policies be adopted with the exception of those two policies. HBC was obviously the data governance and security. We've gone ahead and taken some additional safety measures, but we are not recommending that we adopt this policy, and that's kind of in alignment with what MSBA is seeing right here. And the other one was KD, which is community use of district facilities. Currently, right now, we go through a process of requesting facility usage. We complete a form, gather proof of insurance, and assign that usage based on the process. And what's being recommended is that we open that up for less oversight, and I feel like that's a liability to our district. Generally speaking, we have pretty good accessibility for our community to use our facilities, and we're very willing to do that, but we do want to make sure we cover our liabilities.
I need a motion for this. All in favor? Aye.
Next up is the budget amendment. I do recognize this came to the board late, and I'm recommending that we do this as a first reading. We're very wide open to allow the board to look through line by line and meet at any time. You can also email if you have any questions. We want to get the board able time before the action statement on this. Definitely inviting feedback. Notable on this, we included around $200,000 in revenues and expenditures related to the impact grant, and we also included the projected $1.3 million to make that impact aid revenues from FY17. You'll still see some negative account line items in there. Most of those right now are related to our activities funds, which may be in the process of fundraising currently, or may have a fundraiser plan at a later date and have had some expenditures, but it's not, or they may have some revenues that are on the way through. So it's not as common to see that. If we were to balance those out, that's going to mess up those account items. The only other negative that you'll see is where we have some adjustment entries from miscodes that happen in our human resources process. So, Katie and I, mainly, Katie spends a lot of time with the recoding. She and I were able to sit down and go through and make some updates. And so again, go through that, but we're happy to meet and go through that together. And we'll look to take action on that next week.
Provide I won't say fund by line, but more of a categorical account of what's changed, because there's several lines and they're broken up into different buildings, different programs, but they all kind of roll up. So it would take a lot of effort to provide like a communication narrative of this is kind of what's happening. We can bridge from our first budget to this one. I think what those changes are. Again, not looking for a line by line, but more, this is what's changed.
Mr. Nugent said executive overview.
I've got a couple of questions about what I see on there. I have used what I made an appointment to talk to the, ask him specifically about those items that I'm concerned about.
I think it's important to keep the entire board apprised of whatever private conversations go. I think it's perfect to the whole board here. And I also think it's important to pass on to whoever else looks at this, whether they are employees, public, whoever, and as a service to the people who elected us and pays off salaries. I think that's part of the accountability if you do.
Well, I just don't want to ask questions right now.
We can do that. It'll just every change is logged in there line by line. Copy this all. We're trying to think of what we're looking for. We're looking for more categorical. Because a lot of those, if you look at the category as a whole, it's not going to change anything. It's just recoding 50,000 from this personnel line code, like counselors, which were 22, 21, and 22, 22. So I recognize that some, but one of the reasoning last was that coding has changed. I was very surprised that there's no new lines from one to the other. So the lines have been used in the last, I guess, 3 years. It takes 3 years for it to drop off. Is that correct?
I haven't got all of them.
So,
You have to do that.
so I was kind of surprised that we didn't see new lines.
There are new lines.
There are new lines. They're not brand new. They were zeros before, and now they have money, but they're not new to the reports. So we had used them in the last 3 years. I'm taking that information.
I can work on that revenue report.
Are you talking the revenue expenditures or the budget?
On the budget amendments for both revenues and expenditures.
Yeah, you won't see those on the categories on the revenue expenditure, but there's some new ones on the budget amendments. So we'll go through and try to list out an explanation of what happened. And,
because we are bridging from, I forget what the numbers were, but we are increasing 5,000 in expenditures. And we increased close to 2 million on revenues. So I think it's important to make sure we're not concealing what that is and that it is open. That's all I'm asking.
Okay. Got it.
And again, please make sure if you have questions or you want to sit down and talk, that you make the time to get that done before the next January meeting, and you will be making a recommendation for the action for this. And wow, here we are. I didn't even adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn to executive session pursuant to Article 610 313(2) F1. Roll call vote. I say.
Aye. Thank you all for coming and staying. And 10 till we will meet in for the executive. Thank you.